Hi guys, welcome to my channel Track with Josh. Today we are going to discuss about one of the most important concept and topic for all the competitive exams, whether center or state, is nothing but Indian polity. So when we are discussing about Indian polity, the one thing which comes to our mind is nothing but constitution. So let us know what is meant by constitution. So constitution is nothing but rule book or instructions manual for how a country works. It tells us how government is formed, whether by voting or by inheritance, which will be followed during the king's time. And even in some countries like Arab countries, there is a method of inheritance of choosing the executive. What powers each part of the government has. The constitution tells about the powers of office of the president, office of the prime minister, office of the chief minister, and cabinet and state cabinet. It tells about rights of the people have. It tells about the fundamental rights, how people can enjoy their rights in a different way, and if any right was violated, and how they can approach the judiciary. The constitution tells about how laws should be made and followed. So the laws should be made by voting with some majority like more than 50% or 33% in a cabinet or a parliament. So constitution is also called as supreme law of the land. All the citizens in a country should follow the rules and laws provided in the constitution. It will be the rule book of the nation and it is the topmost fundamental law of the country. It will be the backbone of the democracy because without constitution there will be no democracy. It was a living document. According to the situation, the constitution can be amended and laws can be changed and laws can be implemented by the government for the well-being of the people. So there are two types of constitution. Written constitution, also known as documentary or codified constitution. The laws made are incorporated in the form of book or series of documents formulated and adopted by constitutional assembly, which means here all the laws from creation of the constitution to now will be placed in the book only or in a series of the document which will be combined together. Example, USA, Canada, Japan, France, India, and it will be adopted by the Constitutional Assembly. So, if any law should be made, then all the people or majority of the assembly should be voted regarding that law. Unwritten constitution. This is another kind of constitution where it was non-documentary or uncoded constitution. It will be not incorporated in the form of a document. Means the single law will be have single paper and another law will have another paper. So all the laws will not combined in a single document. It will be created according to the situation. So if there will be any emergency, then law should be made regarding that. And they will not take from the previous books or according to them. And it was a product of historical evolution. This unwritten constitution will be followed from king's time in countries like UK New Zealand, and Israel. So let us know about features of Indian Constitution. So Indian Constitution was one of the lengthiest written constitution in the world. It consists of more than 400 plus articles and 25 parts. It was a federal system. Means Indian Constitution gives federal type of government and divides the power between central government and the state government. Indian Constitution was blend of rigidity and flexibility because there are some laws which cannot be amended or modified simply. It requires more than two-thirds of majority in a assembly or a parliament, and flexibility. There are some laws which can simply amended with some simple majority. Parliamentary form of government. India follows a parliamentary system of government. Rule of law. Here, according to Indian Constitution, everyone are equality before the law. So even the Prime Minister and common man will get same kind of benefits and need same procedure in times of judiciary or some kind of certain things. Integrated and independent judiciary. If any common man got affected with some laws made by the government, then executive need to give the answer to common man when he needs to go to the judiciary, and also judiciary need not listen to the words of prime minister or some chief ministers. So let us know how Indian constitution was formed and what are the features were borrowed from different kinds of constitutions across the world. From British constitution, we have taken parliamentary form of government, rule of law, lawmaking procedure, single citizenship, institution of speaker, doctrine of pleasure, tenure of civil servants. From American constitution, we have taken judiciary system, fundamental rights, the most important thing in whole Indian polity. Canadian constitution, federal system with a strong central authority, residual powers, state-center relations. Irish constitution, DPSPs, directive principles, election of the president of India. Australian constitution, concurrent list, freedom of trade and service within the country. Weimar constitution, emergency provisions. Soviet constitutions, 5-year plans, fundamental duties. Government of India Act 1935, Office of the Governor, powers of federal jury. South African constitution, amendment of the constitution. So here Weimar means Germany. And from here there are most PYQs will be asked from more competitive exams, like fundamental rights were taken from which constitution? Then we need to answer American. So sometimes they ask like emergency provisions will be taken from which kind of constitutions? Then it will be Germany or Weimar constitution. So we have learned what is meant by constitutional, but we need to know what is meant by constitutionalism also. So a country may have constitution, but not necessarily constitutionalism. Means dictatorship countries with dictatorship have constitution, but rules will not be followed by dictator. Example North Korea. So if an executive or like a prime minister have some powers, So it means that they can do whatever they want will not be possible. In countries like constitution, with constitution or constitutionalism, there were some limitations which will be discussing in constitutionalism. So constitutionalism recognize the need for government with power. It means at the same time there were some limitations will be placed. So the government cannot take over the rights of the citizens or people. And constitutionalism also provides limitations to executives, presidents, prime ministers on their powers. So constitution can impose limitations on government only when it has constitutionalism. Example, some countries like North Korea, Saudi, or some king ruling countries, the votes of kings are more than constitution. In this kind of countries, constitution works, but constitutionalism will not work. So why what kind of futures will make country with constitutionalism? Federalism. So the state and center have different lists, and state will not interface with center, and center will not interface in the state. Checks and balances. If any law will be made, they need to check whether it was fair or in a legal way and did not affect the rights of the citizens. Judicial review. If any rights of the citizens were affected, then citizen can directly go to the Supreme or for judicial review. Popular sovereignty. It means a country or a government will make rules or schemes according to the interests of citizens in a country. Means whether citizens will not like any law or a rule, then it will be void. Limited government. The government will impose some limitations on the powers of president, on the powers of prime minister, on the powers of governor in different manner. Separation of powers. Separation of powers means there were some kind of leads for state government and for central government and combined powers for both state and center. For example, railways and defense will comes under central government powers, and for example road transport and consumption of alcohol will comes under state government power. According to this, state government can implement laws or rules in their list, and central government can implement some laws. Health comes under both state and center. In previous class, we have learned about topic called Constitution and Constitutionalism, how government will run on the basis of Constitution. So let us know how Constitution was formed in 1934. M. N. Roy put forward the idea of Constitutional Assembly for the first time. Then after the Roy's words, in 1935, INC, Indian National Congress, officially demanded the Constitutional Assembly with British government. And in 1938, Jawaharlal Nehru, on behalf of INC, Indian National Congress, said that Indian Constitution must be framed without interference of outsiders and it will be independent. In 1940, from many protests, finally the demand of constitution was accepted with August offer. And in 1942, Sir Stafford Cripps came with draft proposal on framing independent constitution to be adopted after World War II if we give help for them in World War II. Finally, a cabinet mission was sent in 1946 to give the plan on how the constitution would be formed. So, the cabinet mission plan was approved and constitution assembly was set up on November 1946. So, in that plan, there are total 386 389 seats in constitutional assembly. In that, 296 seats were directly given to British provinces and 93 seats were given to princely states where the states were ruled by kings. And in these 296 seats, the 292 seats were given to governor states where the governors will be elected, and 4 seats will be given to chief election commissioner states. So after the election in 296 seats, 208 seats were won by Indian National Congress and 73 seats were won by Muslim League and 15 seats were won by independents. Here, the elections were held in a proportional representation by a single transferable vote. For every 10 lakh people, one seat is allocated, and seats were allocated to communities like Muslims, Sikhs, and general population. And we can observe that the 93 seats given to princely states and the members of these 93 seats will elected on opinion of the king ruled by that particular state. So let us know making of the constitution. We already know that before 1946 what was happened, and in December 9, 1946, the first meeting of the Constitution Assembly was held, and on December 11, Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected as President of the Constitutional Assembly, and in August 29, 1947, the Committee on Drafting was appointed, and November 4, 1947, the draft constitution was submitted to the Constitution Assembly with some committee members, and on November 26, 1949, the drafting of total constitution was completed, and on January 24, the constitution was signed with members of the Constitution Assembly. So for this full process, 2 years, 11 months, 18 days was taken place, and the constitution was enforced on 26th November 1949. All the process and everything was completed on November 26, 1949, and the motion of draft constitution was declared as passed on that. And this is also the date Indian Constitution Assembly adopted, enacted, and their consent was given to this constitution on November 26, 1949. The Constitution Assembly has total 389 members before partition. The members of both Indian and Pakistan were placed in the Constitution Assembly. But after the partition, most of the people from Pakistan were removed from the Constitution Assembly, and some people were dead or some people were moved out of the Constitution Assembly, and only 284 were present at the time of Constitutional Assembly. On January 26, 1930, Purna Swaraj Day was celebrated, and on this auspicious day, followed by that 26 January 1950, full-fledged constitution was came into force. So, when the constitution was created, it contains preamble, 395 articles, 22 parts, 8 schedules, and later on days many articles will come and some articles will be removed and many are amended. Finally, present Indian constitution was contained preamble, 448 articles, 25 parts, 12 schedules. So note that preamble was enacted after the entire constitution was enacted, and even the preamble was in the first page, but it was enacted after entire constitution was enacted. Even our Indian constitution was fair to all classes of the people. There were some criticisms. Says that it was fully dominated by Indian Congress and it was not a representative body. Means the Constituent Assembly was not fulfilled by the elections with people, and it was a not sovereign body. It was dominated by Hindus. Some Muslims says that the Hindus were dominated in Constitution Assembly and all the laws were made according to their willness and according to their benefit. Lawyer politician domination. Many people in our Indian Constitution Assembly were politicians and lawyers. This is the what is meant by making of constitution. Later we learn about preamble.